right, welcome back to the Wholesome Financials Podcast. My name is Austin.
Susie.
And we are here in this series talking about how to get approved for funding for major banks that pull from a specific bureau. And if you've been watching this series, we've been going through all Experian banks. And so today we're tackling the coveted Amex. Is it Amex or Amex?
I don't know. I think it's Amex. I've always said Amex.
I think, man, I don't know. I've heard somebody, I was getting torched online one time. People were like, it's Amex. Like, Amex. And I'm like, yeah, what kind of card you got? Okay. No, I'm just kidding. So we're going to go through all the data points, how you need to structure your credit profile so that you can get approved for a 0% interest card from Amex. And so before, I got to say Amex, man. I'm sorry, y'all. If it's Amex, just go ahead and roast me in the comments. Just let me know.
Mm-hmm.
So first, maybe we talk about like the different products that they have available, and then we'll go into the data points, credit score, best practices, how to actually get approved. So what are the two products that we like using for 0% interest funding for business owners?
Yeah, so Amex actually has two products, which is great because you can stack them. One of them is called the Blue Business Cash.
Okay.
And the second one is called the Blue Business Plus.
Nice.
And they look pretty much the same. Like if you look at them, they're both blue. And they're both 0% for 12 months, obviously.
Yeah, but they are different. They have some different properties. And the easiest way to describe the difference between the two is the one that's called cash gives you cash back.
Exactly.
And the other one that's called plus, they do a little bit more, hence the plus. So you can earn membership rewards. If you like traveling or if you like flexibility with your rewards, then the plus makes more sense because you can get gift cards, you can travel, you can redeem those things, transfer them to a hotel or airline, which is what we like to do more often than not. And so that makes the most sense. But if you are, if you're not really a traveler, then the cash back makes sense but either way, they both do statement credits, right? You're both able to use the points that you rack up in a cash liquidated type form. But the cash, the Blue Business Cash, you don't earn any membership reward points. And so that's really valuable if you're trying to travel on a budget, which is what we like to do. So highly recommend the Blue Business Plus if you want some flexibility. So
yeah.
And annual fees are
no annual fees.
No annual fees for both?
For both.
Okay, so I thought no annual fees for both. Okay.
That's why they're highly coveted.
Okay. So those are the two products that we recommend. Those are products that you would want to go after if you're looking for 0% interest funding with no documentation. Now let's get into the data points. So what do people need to do or how they need to structure themselves to make sure they can get approved from Amex? Amex is going to drive me crazy. So they can get approved for Amex moving forward. So what do they need to do?
So 2024, you could get away with 680 and above credit score.
Yep.
2025, most banks are starting to tighten up a little bit when it comes to lending. So 700 and above is what you want to have. Okay.
Okay.
And not only do you want to have that 700, you want to have a thick credit profile.
And we're talking about 700 with Experian, right? Because that's what we're talking about.
Exactly. Okay. Yes.
Or should you have it against all bureaus? Across all bureaus?
I mean, so if you want to get into the weeds of things, they pull from Experian. So yes, preferably you want to have that bureau cleaned, perfect, pristine. But best practice is to always have all three credit bureaus clean. However, I know things happen and, some other bureaus might be a little bit lower, but Experian for sure needs to be 100% clean.
Okay, so question, is it very similar to, we did an episode on Chase before this on how, depending on where you're at geographically in the U.S., they might pull from different credit bureau. Is Amex always going to be Experian?
Yeah, so for the most part, correct. Yeah, Experian. Okay. That's been the case with all of our clients, with ourselves. So Experian seems to be that bureau they like.
All right. And so remember, the data points that we're giving you are not just to get approved for an Amex card. The data points we're giving you is to get approved, but not only get approved for a high limit card that you can use for your business or liquidate if you want to use fix and flips or Airbnb or buy some vans for Turo. Right?
Yeah, that's a thing now.
So what else? What are some other things? I know we'll see some similarities with Chase, but what are some other things that people need to make sure that they their credit profile looks like in order to get approved for high limits.
So first things first, we definitely don't want to have any negative items.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, you can have a 700 credit score and high utilization. That's not what we want, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want any collections. We don't want any late payments. We don't want any charge-offs. We don't want anything derogatory, even if it happened 3-4 years ago, because it will come up and you'll most likely get a denial.
Gotcha.
So best practice is to go through a round of credit repair. You don't even have to pay for credit repair nowadays,
True.
right?
You don't.
There's an AI DIY credit dispute program that we offer, and it's totally free. All you have to do is literally just link your credit report, pay for your 3 bureau credit report, which most people already do.
It's true.
And this platform is completely free. It literally just disputes for you. You don't have to do any thinking. It's just push a button and go.
Yeah, most savvy entrepreneurs that we know, I mean, credit repair can get really expensive and predatory, to be honest.
Yeah.
But a lot of savvy entrepreneurs, like, well, if you graduated from YouTube University and got your doctorate like the rest of us, you can figure this out. But I like the software that we're offering to our community because, there's no extra fees on top of it. So, and we've seen some good results so far. So it's really great.
Absolutely.
Link will be in the description for that, to sign up to apply for that. So no derogatories on the credit report, nothing negative, charge-offs, things like that, which it makes sense that most banks don't want to see any of that.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely Amex doesn't want to see that.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that your credit is, again, not just a 700, but also very thick in the sense of you have credit cards, you have a car loan, maybe you have already paid off a couple cars in the past. Maybe you have 1 or 2 authorized users because the age on your credit profile isn't all there. So you need a little bit of a boost. You want to have a well-rounded credit report, not just a number. The banks don't just care for a number, right?
Yeah.
Like most people think and imagine like, oh, once I get 800, I'm going to be approved for everything.
Yeah.
And that's not the case because you can literally have an 800 and have 1 credit card and 1 authorized user and still get denied. That is not a very thick credit profile. So there's a difference.
Now, if you need trade lines, we also offer trade lines to, if you sign up for our mentorship, it comes with it. We make sure that you're ready to go no matter what. There's no extra fees. But if you're DIYing it and you also need to add some age, some strength to your profile, we also offer trade lines as well.
Yep.
So what else? I'm assuming like no hard inquiries, or are you allowed a certain amount of hard inquiries in a time period?
So across the board, most banks, you don't want to have more than 3 hard inquiries in the last 6 months. Okay. And the methodology behind that is it shows bank you've been applying for a lot of credit if you have more than 3 in 6 months. If you think about it, 6 months is a short period of time for you to be applying for a whole bunch of stuff.
Very true. Yeah. So 1 every 2 months.
So you definitely want to have those under control. However, if you've gone to the dealership recently, which most people do, and they get a whole bunch of inquiries, those are easier to remove than a late payment, right? Okay. So like if you come and work with us and the only thing that's maybe stopping you is hard inquiries, we can take care of that. Yeah. That is something that we could do in-house. We can teach you so that way you can replicate it. But you definitely don't want to have more than 3 because that's when you start seeing denials from banks, right? Chase, Amex, Wells Fargo. I mean, any bank, they'll just start using that as a reason for not allowing you to access their credit limits.
That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. So no more than 3 hard inquiries in the last 6 months.
Yep.
So let's say my credit score is 700. I don't have any negatives, and I haven't had more than 3 inquiries in the last 6 months. But let's say I only have 1 credit card, right? Is that enough? Am I good to still get in the Amex? Is there anything you do on that front?
Yeah. So unfortunately, you want to have more than just 1 credit card, okay? And how many? You want to have a good mixture between 3 to 5. Okay. And more specifically, you want to have revolving between all of them at least 15,000.
Okay. So altogether, all of my cards should be at least 15,000 available limit.
Exactly. So that means, for example, you had 1 credit card for 5, the other one for 5, the other one for 5. That's 15.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's bare minimum, right? Okay. A sweet spot would be anywhere between the 40K to the 60K range. Now we're really showing the banks that, yes, you can access high limits on the personal side. Yes, you can pay your credit cards down. Yes, you're responsible. you look like a good candidate to give you some money.
Got you. Okay, so having roughly, yeah, you said like 40,000,
40 to
50,000,
60 is a
40 to
good range.
60,000 of limits available to me on the personal line. And you're not talking about, you're only talking about credit cards. Like this has nothing to do with like cars or any other like, what are they called,
Loans,
trade
personal.
lines,
Yeah, so like I'm not talking about car loans, I'm not talking about personal
mortgages or
loans,
anything like that.
which all those things, yes, that plays into it because that's a mix, right? You also want to have a mix. You don't want to just have a whole bunch of credit cards and nothing else, right?
Okay.
So people who've had student loans on their credit for 10, 15 years, that actually helps their credit.
Okay. That makes
A,
sense.
because of the age, and two, because it adds more depth.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. So, all right, that makes sense. So, having between 40 and 60,000 on the personal side, only talking about credit limits that are available to me, that makes it look pretty good. All right.
Yeah.
Do like, is there, can I, what's the utilization marker for
Yeah.
that 30, like 50, like if I have like 50,000 available all limits. So, let's say I have one card that's like 10,000 limit and I have, I ran that one up, but the rest of them are all good. Am I solid? Is there any best practices when it comes to that?
Yeah, so let's break down utilization because people can get that a little bit confused.
Okay.
So some people think that you just need to have 30% overall, right?
Yeah.
So let's say one card's at 50, the other card's
You
at
say
10,
30%, you're talking about what?
30% utilization.
Okay, so I've only used 30%.
Exactly. So
Okay.
30% of your available credit limit.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So what you really want to have is 30% below on each card.
Okay.
Right?
Each individual card.
Each individual card. You don't just look at the overall because the overall could be deceiving. It could tell you like, oh, I'm good to go. I'm at like 28%. But then when you look at the most, recent credit card, you see that it's at 50. That's not good.
Banks probably worried like, hey, why is this why do you still have a remaining balance when it's so loud, so high?
Exactly. Loud too.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to have below 30%. Now 30%, guys, like that's like bare minimum.
Okay. So what's the real ideal range you want to be in then?
Yeah. So 20% we're cooking. 10%, I mean, we're ready to go. Like overachiever. I can most guarantee you that we can get you the highest limits possible with that type of utilization on your credit report.
Nice. And the reason we can guarantee this is because, these aren't just random data points and metrics. Like these are coming from the relationship managers at the banks that we partner with.
Yeah.
They're telling us this is what we're looking for. This is what a good profile looks like, right?
Exactly. So we take what they want, we put it in such a way so that our clients can understand.
We optimize them.
We optimize it, we massage the credit, and then we present it to the underwriters in such a way where they're like, wow, where did you find these people? We've been waiting for them.
Okay. All right. So the credit profile is stacked. The limits are stacked. We removed all the bad stuff. We got all the good stuff. Bad stuff, negatives. When I say good stuff, I'm talking about credit mix and available credit between that 40-60 range. Now, when you're applying for a business credit card, you're probably going to apply with an LLC. Are there any other best practices and tips when it comes to Amex?
Yeah. So Amex is also one of those cool banks that allow you to apply as a sole prop as well.
Ooh, okay.
So that's a cool point if anybody want to write that down.
Nice. And that's different, Chase.
Chase will also do that.
Okay, cool.
So Chase will also allow you to apply as a sole prop.
Nice.
And guys, all that means is that you are the business. You don't actually have an LLC established yet. All you have is you as the business, as a sole proprietor, and an EIN that you can get from the IRS. Pretty simple. Anybody can do it. That's mostly for people that have like a hobby, like a little side hustle. You're not really making money.
Yes.
But you can still do it.
Now, and you just hit a really great point. A lot of people believe like, well, my business isn't running yet. It doesn't actually exist yet. So how can I qualify as a business to Chase? And this is where the no doc part comes in handy.
Yeah.
Like if you've sold socks on Facebook Marketplace, in the eyes of Chase, like you're a business. They don't care because they're not looking for revenue documents or W-2s, W-9s, or anything like that, which is super cool. Another thing that you mentioned, man, you just said it, and I'm like, it doesn't slip my mind.
Sole prop. I talked about sole prop. And you mentioned no docs, which is pretty cool. A lot of people think like, oh, I have to have taxes in this. This is all just stated income. They literally take your word for face value.
Yeah.
And they respect whatever you put on the application, and they give you according to what you put.
Now, I remember what I was going to mention. You know, a lot of people get nervous when it comes to acquiring this type of funding for their business using their social, or, you know, using guaranteeing with their personal credit. But what they don't realize is, now the downside is, if you, these funds are for serious business owners only,
Absolutely.
right? Like, you shouldn't just be accessing these funds or using them willy-nilly, because you have to pay them back, and its strategy works best within a certain time period.
Yep.
But on top of that, the benefit of it in the short run is that business credit cards don't report to your personal credit.
See, that's it.
So
that's it.
Amex has no idea that you went to Chase and you got $50K from Chase, and that makes this stacking thing possible.
Exactly. As long as we remove that inquiry that Chase might have left behind on your Experian, and we go to we go to American Express next, Amex won't know that you just went to Chase, like you said. So
gotcha. That's good. That's good. All right. So when it comes to having your LLC formed, ready to go, I'm pretty sure, like, most banks don't want to, they'll be wary of lending to anybody that's in, or at least on their LLC, that they say you're in trucking, or you're in real estate, or you're in entertainment, or you're in fast food, any of those high risk industries, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And that honestly goes across the board with any bank.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All banks have a rating system. And as far as, they'll rate your LLC depending on how risky it is. They have like a threshold, right? And so real estate, trucking, restaurants, I'm missing one. I'm not sure, but most businesses are considered risky in the eyes of the bank. And so what happens is, they just won't lend as much money to you. Okay, you might have a good credit score, you might have your LLC set up all beautifully, but because you told them you're in real estate, they might hold back and only give you $5K.
Now, one thing that we advise our clients, and I advise you too, if you're paying attention and following along in the series, there's two ways to go about this. You can restructure your LLC, make sure it's attractive to the banks, and I highly recommend doing that if that's the case. But you might be in the industry, depending on what it is, you might really care about your business name, all that other stuff. You can always restructure your LLC and use a DBA for your business name. But just in general, we also recommend sometimes to our clients, just build another LLC. Just have a straw man LLC that's set up specifically to look good for the banks. Best way I can describe it is, you know, I don't know if you guys grew up, I don't know where y'all grew up, but, like, you know, where I come from, like, there's this concept of Sunday best, right? You go to church, you put on your Sunday best. There's clothes that you only wore to church. That's what it's about. Or to bring it back to 2025, like, if you're going to go to a job interview, there's some clothes, maybe a suit that you would only wear to a job interview or a funeral, things like that. You want to make sure you're particularly presentable in a particular environment. And so having an LLC that's completely optimized, that doesn't look risky at all to banks, is fantastic. Because once they grant you this 0% business credit, they don't know what you're using it on. They don't care. They already got it. I mean, if they really cared, they would have asked for docs and stuff like that. So it's also super recommended to make sure that if you don't go back and fix your LLC, just make a new one.
And don't get too attached to the names and all that stuff. Like, we're just out here just trying to get some funding.
Your LLC isn't for you, it's for the bank.
And so with that being said, you definitely want to be applying with a business LLC that's low risk, like consulting, IT, marketing. All those are considered low risk because there's not much overhead. It's very easy to run a marketing company. There's not really much. And that list of low risk businesses or NAICS codes, that updates from year to year, but we rarely see a lot of change in it. For the most part,
consulting, all those things are pretty safe and pretty standard.
They're pretty safe. They're neutral, and
Yeah.
that's what we always advise our clients, especially if they're coming in, they don't have an LLC.
Yeah.
That's how we always set them up.
Now, another thing, we haven't talked about this. We didn't talk about this in the Chase episode, but we have talked about this in past podcast episodes. To add to your viability of looking attractive, we highly recommend, business phone number, a general website. Don't put what you actually do on that website. Just put such and such consulting enterprises, maybe a stock photo and a contact me box. Nothing else. Things like that. But if you want more of those in-depth things, you can go and check out past episodes because we don't want to keep this one too long. All right. So is there anything else that's very specific to American Express regarding to how they deal with people that people need to be aware of that might distinguish them separately as a bank?
Yeah. So obviously you can't open a bank account with American Express at a brick and mortar store.
Yes, they don't have one.
They do have a online checking account for your business. You can literally just open up a bank account, and we have one. They're great. And they usually give out sign up bonuses if you sign up, like $50K. So if you're in the travel game, $50K for opening a checking account.
50,000 membership reward points is what she's referring to. Continue.
Yeah. So essentially you don't need to open an account to access this type of funding. But it's very, very, very recommended that prior to applying for a business card that you've already established a relationship with them on the personal side, and preferably a charge card, meaning an American Express Platinum, an American Express Gold, because those are their high tier credit cards. And if you've had one of their credit cards for a year, 2 years, and you've been making your payments on time, they're all about relationship. They look at your spending pattern. How have you spent this money in the last year?
Yeah.
Do you pay them on time, and do you pay them in full?
Yeah.
And so the best results that we see from our clients are those people that have a platinum or have a gold, and they literally spend, $2K, $5K, $10K, and they pay the whole thing off the next month. And they've done that for 1 or 2, 3 years. When I see that on a credit profile, I know 100% sure they're going to get the highest limit on the business side.
Nice. Okay. No, that's good. That's fantastic. Is there anything else? So it makes sense that American Express is all about relationships.
Yep.
Are there any negatives to potentially be aware of regarding the relationships with Chase? They're their crazy girlfriend or something like that. How does that work?
So Amex is very unforgiving. And when I say unforgiving, I mean if you've ever had a late payment with them in the past, whether it be on the personal or the business side, if you've filed bankruptcy 10 years ago and maybe you included Amex in that bankruptcy you owed them, they will hold that against you and they will not allow you to open up a card. So if you've ever defaulted with them, charged off, whatever the case may be, you're most likely not going to get approved. So I always tell people, treat Amex with a lot of respect, because once you wrong them, we're done.
Yeah.
You know?
Chase is kind of similar too. Maybe not as bad as American Express, but Chase, if once you get on their bad side, you can get shadow banned over there.
Yeah, Chase Bank was most definitely the only thing that will kind of move Chase's heart over is if you drop $100K on the account and they're like, oh, okay,
they like that money.
So that's the only time I've seen them kind of just play back.
American Express don't care though.
No, Amex got too much. Their cards are top tier to where they don't care.
They're like, we're home with platinum. I don't need you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a cool thing about Amex before we go is once you've had an Amex personal card, whatever else you apply with American Express will be a soft pull, meaning you will never get another hard inquiry on your credit.
Yes.
After that first initial inquiry.
That's cool.
But it has to be on the personal side first.
Okay.
So let's say you've never had Amex and then you go and apply for a business card, you get an inquiry.
Yes.
Right? Then you come back and you want a personal card, you're going to get another inquiry. So it only works if personal first and then business, and you'll never get an inquiry again in your life.
That makes sense. So if you're interested in getting funding or procuring one of these 0% cards for a high limit, the first step outside of making sure your profile is all squared away and optimized is going in and opening up a personal card to start that relationship. You gotta take Amex on a date first. You just can't be going straight for the goods. You gotta take them out the drinks first.
And so, yes, you want to have that personal card first before we go for the business. And
Nice.
they give up to 50K on a card. Most times they give out 25 on one, and
Yeah.
then we double back and apply same day,
Yeah.
literally 10 minutes apart, and they get another 25. Boom, we're at 50K in one day with zero increase if you already have a personal.
And that's life-changing funding, especially if you're, the only thing that's stopping your business from growing and scaling is access to capital. Optimizing yourself in this way and being set up can be a game changer.
Yep.
And getting that type of funding in 24 hours is fantastic. Like
Yeah.
our buddy Carl, if you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully that helps, man. These are all the data points that we have. I think we're committing to like putting together like just this list and putting it in the description, right? Just so
Yeah,
people
like
can
a
get used to
Google
it.
Doc people can access and they
Okay.
can see the data points and they can remind themselves like, oh shoot, I probably should do this.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you can go ahead and grab access to that in the description below. And if you need funding and you need help getting optimized, if you're ready to go ahead and grow and scale your business and procure this funding, apply to work with us using the link below. Go to hostfinancials.com or just go directly to our funding application. If we're a good fit, we'll get started. And if there's something that you need to do to get prepared, still reach out to us because we might be able to help you in that process. All right, before we head out of here, let's just ask some questions. So that's the end of the business stuff. This is just about to be, just check in and have some fun. So
Let's do it.
you want to go first? Or want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, what you got?
Okay. Question for you. What was the scariest moment in your first month after quitting your 9-to-5 job? And how did you handle it?
In my first month. I mean, we definitely had a scary moment after quitting, but in the first month, I think the scariest moment was, when you leave the comfort of the golden handcuffs, I call it, the 9-to-5 corporate world.
Yep.
You know a check is coming every 2 weeks, and so in that first month, when you for real get to see that you eat what you kill, and I think in that first month we were still trying to get our system set up. And it was a huge, huge, huge learning curve, especially trying to learn our CRM, which is a Go High Level. That thing is a C. That thing is monstrous, and I think that was probably one scary moment where I was like, oh gosh, like with this, because I mean, when you're running business, you're nervous and you want to make sure that everything is lined up because you don't want any snags to keep you from procuring the money or making the sale.
Exactly.
And so you don't want to be the bottleneck essentially. And so for me, that was the thing that I think I was nervous about was we had high expectations. We thought we needed this complicated CRM. And so I was killing myself day and night trying to figure this thing out. And so, it all worked itself out, but that was probably a scary moment, thinking that the pipeline isn't set up and we can miss that. And so there were a bunch of other automations that we had set up at the time, running paid ads. But Go High Level was that kept me up at night.
Yeah, it definitely did.
All right. Question for you. What's something that you were terrified of doing as an entrepreneur originally, but now feels completely natural?
I think something that I was terrified doing was being confident in charging of what we're actually worth and not lowballing ourselves just because other people don't see the value of what we bring.
Mm-hmm.
So scared to ask for the price that we were asking for and knowing that, yes, we are valuable enough to acquire that because we've done a lot of research. We have extensive knowledge in our field and we have results to back it up.
I thought you were going to say sales calls.
That too, but I feel like more so why the sales calls can be difficult is because you're afraid to charge your value.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's good.
It's good stuff.
All right. We appreciate you you tuning into this episode. I hope if it's provides you any value, please leave a like and subscribe. With that, like we mentioned, if you're interested in procuring 0% interest funding for your business as soon as possible, we can introduce your relationship managers, make sure your profile is optimized, and go back and watch the rest of our stuff. You can clearly tell we continue to get clients funded day in and day out. And so you can go ahead and participate and apply to work with us using the link in the description below. Until then, we will see you in the next one. Peace be with you, and see you later.
Peace.